Illuminati, Illuminati, Illuminati. It's my sentence. You like it?
Can you use the word isthmus in a sentence?
Oh, I have a joke that I can't drop now.
This is a little Rascals joke.
That's exactly where I was going.
This must be my lucky day.
Hey, can you put my voice through the effects, or is it not going to work that way? You got a separate channel for Skype, right?
Illuminati, Illuminati, Illuminati.
Hi, Ken. I see you now, Ken.
Hey, bro.
Again, you sound like you're in a freaking. He's
in a dungeon, a sex dungeon.
Sounds like he's in one of those. What are those? Those comic
We got to
boxes?
keep busy, right? During this trying time.
If he comes out in like a black leather mask with zippers on it, I'm done. I'm out.
No, Worship Brother Joe, you are not first. You are 1, 2, 3 behind.
You can't be first, sweetheart, but you can be next.
Yeah. You want to be on the podcast? Yeah, Emily doesn't like us.
It's funny though. I have to realize that I have a shorter headphone.
Wait, time out. I thought Emily loved me. Is it just George she doesn't like, or is it a collective thing?
Yeah, no, it's like an us thing, right? She loves you.
Okay.
And I think she's kind of ambivalent toward me. But yeah, George, I think, is the problem.
That doesn't surprise me.
Nathan Moss, these are not the droids you're looking for. Ken is playing it safe, the only smart one. He's got no freaking look at his skin complexion. He has zero immune system. He's like it's like Jake Gyllenhaal and fucking Bubble Boy. That's what Ken should be doing.
I always play with it safe. Never mind.
It's the lighting in here. I should really just kill the fluoro.
It's not the lighting.
Bask in the light of my monitors.
You look like a helicopter pilot. I love you. You look pretty. You need a pair of
aviators. That's what everybody that I get on conference calls at work say too. They're all like, "Oh, dude, it looks like you should have like a yoke in front of you and fly helicopters."
You should get some aviators, man. It look badass.
I do have some aviators.
Who was the badass? Was it Jim Dean? He used to wear the.
You know, I have to get wine anyway. Let me go.
Jimmy Dean, the guy that makes the breakfast sauce.
Oh, James Dean.
Oh,
remember he had the
leather jacket.
That car is haunted as shit too, right?
That's what I've heard. Yes.
It's pretty crazy. Oh, we lost Ken. Ken died.
Why does Ken not have any sound?
Boy in the bubble.
Maybe he muted us?
No, Ken's just not on the camera. He just up and left.
Well, he has to drop a deuce, I think. That's what he always does.
We're going to get fired up. We're going to get fired up shortly.
Stomp me up. All right. You stomp me up. Never stop.
All right. Let's see here. As soon as Ken comes back, we'll get started with
hello, Facebook Live, folks.
Real Illuminati, the Bavarian Illuminati, the real ones, not the scam artists,
not the ones from
not
Nigeria.
The ones from Nigeria. Oh God, he's got the sunglasses on too.
Oh, he's going
full. Captain speaking.
Do you feel the need for speed, Ken?
Talk to me, Goose. Talk to me. Talk to me, Goose.
Negative Ghost Rider, the pattern is full.
See, that looks badass, Ken. That looks freaking awesome. What are you looking for?
All right, I'll rock them, man. They're actually not tinted that dark, so I can.
You have a cannon. It's not charged yet.
All right.
Do you want the peanut butter kind?
No. Peanut butter. Drink.
Apparently, you don't like peanut. Apparently, George does not like peanut butter.
I hate peanut butter. All right, we ready? Let's start up the recording. Ready? 5, 4, 3, 2. Hello and welcome to the Freemasons podcast with your hosts, Right Worshipful Brother George Mudry,
Worshipful Brother Joe,
and Pilot Worshipful Brother Ken.
Ken, that's a look for you, brother. I love it. Personally, I love it.
And tonight's episode will be we're doing a revisit of the Masons Mouth Off. Our very first episode, it was rough.
First or second?
It was the very first.
Well, not counting your intro trailer.
Not counting my intro, it was the first episode. I remember. And we covered a lot. We covered the Illuminati. We covered. We're only going to go into the Illuminati tonight. The Bavarian Illuminati, the real ones. But the first one was very rough. This one's going to be.
I recall it was like 30 brothers, one mic.
Yeah, 30 brothers, one mic. Kind of hard to hear. It was pretty bad. But we're going to get into the real Illuminati, the Bavarian, where it got started, how it got started, what it was all about, as well as I found letters from George Washington and Thomas Jefferson talking about the Illuminati. So we're going to get into it pretty heavy. But first, you know what we got to do.
Got to talk about them likes.
So let's start with Let's see here. We have.
Do we have nobody likes it?
I mean, the most wanted.
Most wanted Zimdala Nation.
Franco Junio.
I'm guessing he
Anellis.
might be part of the Illuminati.
I'm going to go with
Yeah,
this.
this might be.
Magic Mike Kelly, Brian Pulling, Kenyon Cook. We actually, I don't know if I said it last time, but the Rio Grande Yorkite also liked us as well.
Oh, wow. How about that?
Mhm. Jonathan Glassman,
How about that?
Barry L. Minot, Rabhi Kareem, John, oh, God, I hate names, John Hergulo, or if I said it wrong, I apologize.
I'm sure you did.
Cat O'Hara, Joey Moss. All right, let's keep it pushing. Brethren,
Got Joey Moss right, though.
I got Joey Moss right. Brethren, right hand to arms.
To arms.
Ready,
Ready.
aim,
Aim.
fire. Good fire, fire all. Together, brothers.
Viva. Viva. Almost synced up.
Almost. It was close, though.
Close, right?
Yes, very.
So, hey, you got something today. What did you just go meet Right Marshal Shane?
Oh, I thought you were talking about the thing I need to get ointment for.
No.
Oh, okay. No, I'd just met he's the Grand Senior Steward, correct?
Grand Senior Steward. Mhm.
Yep. Shane Dufresne, our 3rd District Representative in Grand Lodge.
Correct.
And officially received my apron, jewel, and name tag for Associate Grand Almoner. Yeah.
Awesome.
Actually,
Congratulations,
Pretty cool.
brother.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And it is
I told you to bring it up here, but he's like, no.
that's not me.
I will
don't
say
wanna
though,
show
you
it.
are humble. You are humble.
I
Me,
try to be.
I said if I had an apron, I'd slam it on the table.
That's not what you said.
Like
you
I
said
did
something
there.
similar,
Like I did
similar
there,
to
though.
that, but close. No, it's really cool, and it is the jewel. So I don't have the fancy collars like the AGMs and the
Lanyard.
It's more of it looks more like a running medal, like it's
Okay.
a thick thing that you'd have the medal, and the but the jewel is like a full size jewel, and it is the satchel with the heart.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
No, I got nothing.
Okay.
I really.
'Cause I know what you want to call it. I'm calling it a satchel. You
okay.
call it the purse with the heart. But it's a satchel, like Indiana Jones. That's how I'm thinking of it. That's how I'm embracing it.
Listen, I really shouldn't make fun of the jewel because the position that you're going to be holding is a very important one. So I shouldn't make fun of it. But the guy who had it in our lodge, because every lodge has its own almoner as well, I used to tell him he had his pocketbook. Here's your pocketbook.
Yeah, it's like it does look like a pocketbook with a heart, but I'm gonna go with satchel, like Indiana Jones, because it's cooler.
But congratulations, though.
Thank
In all
you.
seriousness.
Thank
I wanted
you.
to see is the emerald on the jewel or not the jewel, what the hell? The emblem.
The apron is just a plain white field with the purple and gold
Okay,
border on it.
similar to mine. Then.
Yes.
No, well,
Yeah, it doesn't have an actual insignia in the center of it. But no, it's pretty cool. And for those of you that don't know what an almoner is, it refers back to a lot of churches have almoners, and it's an almoner is a person who gives alms. And alms traditionally and historically is somebody who gives food and money to the poor or the needy. So that's what this almoner does. Obviously, we're not giving money and food, although we can provide certain services if needed. But
Assistance in
that's what it
general.
is.
Is what you
Assistance
guys
in
are
general, yes. It's not just a financial or a monetary thing. It's making sure that our brothers and their families have whatever support they need during rough times. So I couldn't think of a better year for our Grand Master
absolutely.
to establish associate Grand Almoners all around the state. So
You gonna be busy?
yes, I'm going to be very busy, but I look forward to it.
Rafferty says it's a sack.
Well, yes, it can be, and it's filled with alms.
Where we were going, yeah.
I'll be spreading alms from.
That's pretty funny.
Never mind, I won't go there.
Your bountiful satchel.
My bountiful satchel.
There you go.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you, worshipful brother Ken.
You're welcome.
Very nice done. Do we got anything else to cover, boys, before we get deep into this? We dive down this rabbit hole.
Only that I'm in the danger zone.
Just don't do the volleyball thing. That was not cool.
No.
It's my favorite scene in
Of
like
course
all
it
of
is.
cinema right there.
Of course it is. Playing with the boys. That was the song during the volleyball scene.
That was the song. That was
Yeah.
one of them. Yeah.
You ditched the chick to play volleyball.
Yeah, that's
Who
not
would
cool.
do that?
Worshipful
So
brother
it's
Ken.
just that cool. It's just that cool.
All right, so let's get into it. I am citing from a bunch of different sources, so I just want to be clear about that. I'm not going to cite them all, but I will get into the Illuminati. It was originally started in Bavaria, in Germany. So the Illuminati, or plural for Illuminatus, or enlightened, is given to several groups, both real and fictitious. We're going to just talk about the origins of it. The first guy who started this was Adam Weishaupt, and Adam Weishaupt was a German philosopher, professor of civil law and later canon law, and founded the Order of the Illuminati, a secret society. Now, again, we've already talked about it on multiple other episodes of there. This was kind of like the thing to do back then. We had the Golden Dawn. We had
Yes.
a lot.
Everybody
of
kind of was forming their own little
Right.
secret society, somewhat based on the occult and
correct
ancient mysteries and whatnot.
right. So Adam Weishaupt was the first guy who started this, and there are different sources that say he was a Freemason, he wasn't a Freemason. Some people say that he was not a Freemason because he couldn't afford the dues, so they kind of made fun of the Illuminati as it was the poor man's group, because most
Right.
people of Freemasonry were of higher financial stature, I guess, at that point. So that's what the Illuminati was. But then I've also read that he was a Freemason, but he didn't make it to Master Mason. He only made it to Fellowcraft. And
That's the version that I've heard.
Yeah, I've heard
mostly,
that as
he
well.
started
Yep.
but didn't finish.
So this Adam Weishaupt basically started in Freemasonry, and for whatever reason, he decided to break away from it. And when he broke away from it, he started with making his own degrees, and he made his own little set of 13 based on a pyramid scheme.
Mm-hmm.
And the bottom level of it was consisted of 4 degrees, and this is called the nursery degrees, and it was preparation, novice, minerval, which is kind of, he derived that from what's it called, the
Minerva.
Merciful Minerva.
the owl, taking the
Event.
owl of Minerva as their symbol. So that's pretty much where that came from. But he called it a Minerval.
Okay.
And then Illuminatus Minor. And that was part of the nursery degrees. As you moved further up the pyramid, it came into Masonry. And there was apprentice, fellowcraft, master, a Scottish novice, and a Scottish knight, or Illuminatus Major, or Illuminatus Dirgens, or something like that. And then the higher ones were the mysteries, and these were principally 2. There was the lesser and the greater, and there was a presbyter, priest, prince, regent, or Magnus Rex, and he considered himself the king. So Weishaupt had a little bit of ego
A little
going.
bit of a complex going there.
A little bit of a complex going. So this all got started off, and believe it or not, he didn't have any degrees. So he had no ritual involved at this point. He had a very small ritual for the lower degrees in order to be initiated into the Illuminati, and it was quite simple. The candidate or the petitioner would go into a black room, like an ante room, similar to us, and he would be stopped, and whoever the guy was running the show would say, basically, is he a free man and willing to give himself to the order? This particular part of their ritual would be that he was dressed in slave garb with his hands bound. So he's broken away from his oppressors and now freely gives himself to the Order of the Illuminati. He would obviously say yes, and then he'd be brought into the next room, which would be adorned in all red. and there would be the remains of a skeleton on the table, and there would be a sword and crown on, near the body or near the remains or whatever. And the guy would, the leader, whoever was in charge, would say, "What do you see here? Was he a pleb or was he a prince?" And the correct response would be, "You don't answer," because the correct response is basically
nothing. He's dead.
He's nothing. He's dead.
Absolutely nothing.
He is the human condition. That's pretty much exactly what it would be, and that's pretty much all they really know about the ritual that was based on. He ended up linking up with this kind of took a little bit of root in Freemasonry, and I'm looking for the guy's name here, but he ended up linking up with a master mason. Adolf Nidge is his name. He ended up becoming good friends with Adolf Freiherr Nidge. I'm trying my best to German. I only know a few words. And
Just say it harshly, and it'll sound right.
Adolf Freiherr Nidge.
Exactly.
All right.
That's
anyway.
Exactly.
But anyway, he was a Freemason. Nidge was recruited in the late 1780s at a convention of the Rite of Strict Observance by Constantino, whatever. He was an infantry captain of the Bavarian army and a fellow Freemason. So this guy Nidge actually is the one who started putting together degrees and started putting together he started doing more recruiting for the Illuminati. He started working over in Masonic lodges and whatnot, and that's when the Illuminati really sprung, because originally it was just in Bavaria,
right,
and then it moved over to France and Germany and then the surrounding areas, and that's where it really took off. And what ended up happening was this guy Adolf Nidge ended up getting into some little bit of fighting with Weishaupt, because
everybody was kung fu fighting.
The rift was growing between Weishaupt and let's see here. They have this different thing. I'm looking on this site, but they started getting into arguments because Nidge was basically saying that he was getting to be too big for his britches, in a sense. He was being much like a dictator, where everything happened his way. He wouldn't take advice and do everything the way that it was supposed to go. But what ended up happening was Nidge ended up leaving, and he denounced the Illuminati because he said that their original charges were not what he had said they were. So
Weishaupt was like in the process of kind of like putting the overall framework of the Illuminati together at that point, right? And Nidge was basically his deal was, he thought that the order was like pretty well put together at that point, but was, I think Weishaupt eventually admitted to him that, like, hey, I haven't actually written any of the higher orders yet. Mm-hmm. Like, most of the ritual isn't done.
Right.
So I think wasn't that the beginning of
correct
the dispute between them?
Yes. And the other thing is that, he didn't really, I guess, according to what I watched or listened to today, was that Weishaupt had they believed that there was no need for religion or government, because if everybody basically controlled themselves by the moral law, what do you need a government for? What do you need any type of overhead telling you, you can't do this, you can't do that? Because if everybody followed the moral law, there's no need to have police officers or any type of government telling you what to do.
So he was a bit of an anarchist.
Yes, he was a bit of an anarchist. You also have to understand that in Bavaria at this time was pretty much oppressive, and there was a Kaiser, right, I think, at that point. So you really couldn't do anything to really against the government. Right. So, and he also had said, Weishaupt, one of the things he had said was that I'm looking for the quotes that he had, but one of the quotes I do know he had was that the Illuminati should never say we're the Illuminati. They should call themselves something else to keep and preserve the order of the Illuminati by calling themselves something else. So it's almost like a shadowy type thing that they had going on. One of the things that they kind of had going on was the Jacobins.
Yep.
And we know about them from the French Revolution. They kind of sprung out of the Illuminati a little bit, but there's loose loose connections.
There's some
between
connection. It's like a spin-off.
Yes.
Like you'd see with the sitcom, you know, gets popular and then you start to see little spin-offs and stuff.
Right. So I'm really excited to get into the latter half of this when we talk about George Washington, who was
You usually get excited about ladders, huh?
Wow, you dug deep for that one.
Yeah, you like that? Woo!
How long do you have that one in the pocket?
Like 10 seconds, not even. Like you said the ladder, and I just had visions of you on a ladder.
Let's kick the tires and light the fires.
I'm looking for the exact quote, so bear with me a minute. There we go. Found him. When man lives under government, he is fallen. His worth is gone and his nature tarnished. So here you go. This is kind of the things that he had said in regards to basically being the downside of governments and anarchy and all that stuff. See, he had some good quotes in here. I have to read them. But
it's very V for Vendetta-ish, if you've ever seen that movie. And
yes,
a real great movie, by the way. Really underrated in my opinion. But
he'd said here, and this is another one. This is kind of where the conspiracy comes from of that the Illuminati and the New World Order, because Weishaupt had said that the human race will then become one family, and the world will be the dwelling of rational men. And if you start really getting heavy into the George W. Bush comment about New World Order and all that stuff.
1,000 points a line.
Yeah, they they really take off with it. But so this Illuminati kind of took off, and they were really starting to shake up governments, and they started to get themselves noticed. And one of the things that they had talked about was that they were, and actually, what's the matter? Oh, I thought you. This Nidge was the guy who kind of got it all started up with, how the Illuminati was bad and they're trying to flip over governments and infiltrate different things. And people started to take notice. And when they started taking notice, there was actually one guy who was Adam Weishaupt's best friend, or his confidant, if you will.
Oh.
And he had a bunch of papers in his pocket regarding what the Illuminati was about. And he was on horseback in a thunderstorm. And as he was riding along, he was struck by lightning and singed. And the papers were perfectly fine.
Huh.
And they found this, and that was pretty much the beginning of the end for Weishaupt. But there is a lot of conspiracy theorists who believe that over here in the United States, that the Illuminati was basically, running the government or whatever.
Right.
So let's be clear that we actually didn't declare independence until July of 1776.
Correct.
And that is when Weishaupt started the Illuminati in 1776. I think it was like a month prior to. So, realistically, it wouldn't, back in those times, it's not like today where, instantly I can message the Brits over in Britain and we're having communication. So
right.
Back in those times, it would have taken some time. So it really wouldn't have happened right away.
But there was communication between some of our founding fathers and
correct
Weishaupt, right?
Mm-hmm. Not direct.
Well,
I didn't find any direct communication unless you
okay. But at least with the Illuminati, there was some communication. Not necessarily before we declared independence, but throughout the revolution, I believe there was some
Well, I have a
Going back and
couple
forth.
of Washington's letters of him talking to a Reverend G.W. Snyder and a William Russell about it. But there is also a letter that I have actually from Jefferson talking about Weishaupt. And he basically, in a sense, and I'll read a portion of it, he basically had said that well, I'll get into the first part of it with George Washington first, because I don't want conspiracy theorists to freaking tear this freaking podcast apart. Be like, hey, look what he said, I told you. You know, but so
Conspiracy theorists take note. All right, it wasn't the Illuminati that founded this country; it was the Freemasons.
it was not. And I will read Washington's exact words as he wrote them. And the Reverend G.W. Snyder had basically sent a letter to George Washington, which is pretty cool. Right, the president would respond to a letter.
Yeah.
Now you just get the generic freaking kadoosh, the generic stamp of.
Douche.
You get the
the night
fake
of Kadoosh. You go
night
night
of
of Kadoosh.
kadoosh. Love that episode. Kadoosh. But anyway, so they had the president at the time. I think actually he may have been retired. 1798. I think he was retired at that point. Washington.
Thinking so, yeah.
I'm thinking he stepped out. But he had written to him about it, and he had said, and this was September 25th, 1798. This is from Reverend G.W. Snyder to Washington. So, sir, many apologies are due to you. Hold on one second. Let me make sure I'm reading this right. This is Washington's response, to the Reverend. And he says, sir, many apologies are due to you for my acknowledging the receipt of you belonging favor to the second in not thanking you for a book that he had sent him. Basically, I'm paraphrasing. This is all Old English. I'm going to actually show Joe this, because this is actually the letter.
Oh, okay.
They still have them in
Wow.
in circulation. Pretty crazy. And this is loc.gov, so it's real.
Oh, yeah. So that's in the archives. Absolutely.
This is
Library of Congress, right?
Library of Congress,
yeah,
yeah.
I'm smart.
Look at you go.
I'm smart.
My boy's wicked schmat.
We can schmat. Who let the Korg out of the basement?
Who let the Korg out?
Yeah, that's just mean. You're just being mean.
So anyway, Washington continued to say that. So this Reverend sent him a book that was basically talking about how the Illuminati was, I believe the word they even used, which was kind of ironic, was infecting Masonic lodges with
Like a virus.
like a virus. The wording they used. But I have heard much of the nefarious, this is Washington to Snyder. I have heard much of the nefarious and dangerous plan and the doctrines of the Illuminati, but never saw the book until you were pleased to send it to me. The same cases which have prevented my acknowledgement and receipt of your letter have prevented me from reading the book. Hitherto, namely, the multiplicity of matters which pressed upon me here before, and the debilitated state in which I was left after a severe fever had been removed. So he's basically saying, breaking it down, he was sick. I didn't read the book. I'll get to it when I get to it.
They spoke so nicely and pleasant back
They
then.
did.
Nowadays, I'd be like, hey, George, did you get to this yet? Nah, I've been sick. I didn't get to it. I'm sorry.
See, I really think that a lot of the colonials, they were spoke all night, but they had some suppressed rage. Because you could just see them.
You have to have.
Tell
it to
me
be that
Washington
nice.
didn't launch a mic stand at one point. Boom!
Well, and who knows? He's probably thinking to himself, Jesus, another freaking fan letter. Like, seriously, do I have to answer another one of these?
I mean, Gentleman George, right? That was his name, right?
Yeah.
It was one of his nicknames, Gentleman George. You mean to tell me that when he went to, what fort was it? What's his name? Arnold was at?
West Point.
West Point, thank you. You mean to tell me when we went there and realized that freaking Benedict Arnold freaking
That he was a traitor.
traded on him? You mean to tell me he didn't flip out and pull a Hillary Clinton in
He
the
probably
entire room?
looked. He probably looked across the river and was like, "You mother,
Right?
you mother."
You mean to tell me that no De Niro came on him? I want you to find that son of a bitch, and we're going to get him, and we're going to murder him, right?
I don't
No
know
De
if you
Niro.
guys ever saw the series Turn that was on.
We did, yes,
that's a
YouTube
great
channel or
series.
something. There was an excellent scene where Washington confronts Benedict Arnold.
Yeah, that's
And
a great,
one of the
great
better ones in the
series.
show.
If our listeners haven't watched that series, highly recommend it, especially if you're looking for a show to watch It was on Netflix. I'm assuming it's still on there, but
Yeah, I think it still is. And the guy who plays Washington is does a bang up job.
Awesome.
yes.
Job. All right, let's finish this letter here. So he's talking about after his fever, and then he says, in which allows me to add a little more now. Then thanks for your kind wishes and your favorable sentiments, except to correct an error you have into of my presiding over the English lodges in this country. The fact is, I preside over none, nor have I been in one more than once or twice within the last 30 years. Yeah, he was kind of fighting a war.
Yeah, he was doing some stuff.
He was doing some shit, and then he became a president
became the
afterwards.
president.
So, yeah, that
A little busy.
might tear up your time a little bit. I believe, notwithstanding that none of the lodges in this country are contaminated with the principles ascribed to the Society of the Illuminati. With respect, I am ANSI, whatever that means. So that was letter number 1. And I have to bring up the other one here because there's like so just want you to know there's 270 pages of this.
So let me just paraphrase that whole communication right now. The Reverend sends him a letter saying, man, have you seen this crap?
Basically.
And he replies, I haven't gotten around to it. I've been sick, but I got a chance to look at it now and hear my thoughts. I think that's the gist of it so far.
Yeah, good summary.
Man, have you seen this?
Well, I think that the major concern was, again, you're getting a lot of back and forth about you're getting a lot of back and forth about what the Illuminati is taking over governments, and you're hearing messages, word of mouth, or what's the word, telephone game, where the story changes.
Yeah, where it
from
changes
Europe.
from
And now it's coming to the United States that the Illuminati is now infiltrating everything and taking over everything. So
infecting.
That's the word they use, actually. I'm trying to find out where Washington had said the other thing. You guys got anything to add while I'm looking for this, if you wouldn't mind?
Ken? Maverick, you have anything to add?
No, I mean, you pretty much covered all the ritual, the degree system, and I don't really know too much about Washington and the Illuminati. That's kind of news to me.
Oh, really? You didn't hear about this?
No.
All right. So
While he's looking for that, Ken, I got to tell you, and it's a little sidebar here. It's not relevant to our topic, but god damn, you look good. Like, this is
Thanks,
the best
brother.
I've ever seen you. Like,
Really?
you look amazing.
All it took was a set of aviators, and then all of a sudden I'm...
Yeah, you got this whole... Yeah.
all right, here we
You
go.
got a thing.
I got it.
And we're back.
Got it. On October 17th, Snyder wrote to George Washington, Your Excellency's favor of the 25th of September, I last had pleasure to receive on the 3rd current. My pleasure, however, was interrupted because I had sent another letter dated. So, again, just quickly, I'm going to go through this real quick. But what you had was the mail service wasn't exactly up to snuff what it is today.
Right.
So there was this guy, Snyder, had sent the letter, the initial letter that I just wrote to George Washington, or that I had originally started with, to George Washington. He didn't respond, so he sent another one. And while he was sending the second one, Washington's first letter popped up, and now so they're going back and forth.
So there's a little cross.
Right. So he, after further pleasantries, Snyder goes on to write, I should be very happy in Your Excellency's good opinion that the contagion of the Illuminatism or Jacobinism has not yet reached this country. But when I consider the anarchical and seditious spirit that shewed itself in the United States from the time M. Gannett and Fawcett, whatever. Oh, these must be two guys who are certainly, it says, who certainly is of the order. So he's talking basically about these two guys, whatever his name is, Gannett and Fawcett.
Fauché. Let's go with Fauché. How you spelling it?
Gannett, G-E-N-E-T.
Guinea?
Gannett. And Fawcett. I know it's definitely Fawcett.
Okay.
Fawcett.
Fauché. It's Fauché.
Fauchet. But anyway, he was saying they arrived in this country and propagated their seditious doctrines, which illuminated doctor from Birmingham had been zealously employed to strengthen. I confess I cannot divest myself of my suspicions. So he's basically saying, yeah, I get that you have confidence that they didn't come here, but I still believe it anyway.
Right.
So
How he likens it to a pandemic too.
right, he does. He basically,
How appropriate.
Yeah.
right? Tell me about it. George Washington's response. So this goes on, and you can look this up, and it's in founders.archives.gov. And this is all government. You know, they still have these things, and actually, I believe they're still in pristine order too. Like they still have the ivory color of the paper and everything. Those
Parchment, the parchment that it's on.
George Washington's response from Mount Vernon on October 24th brought the exchange to a close. So this is it. Washington's like, I had enough of this shit.
Okay,
I'm
enough.
done.
Leave me alone.
Done. Cut it. So he says, Reverend Sir, I have your favor of the 17th instant before me. So he's reading the letter of the 17th.
Yeah.
And my only motive to trouble you with in the receipt of this matter is to explain and correct a mistake which I perceive the hurry in which I am obliged often to write letters have led into. Well, he's basically saying I just want to clarify shit.
Right.
Breaking this down.
I'm gonna explain this one more time to you, and then I'm done with you.
Yes.
It's kind of like talking to Messner.
It's yeah, right.
Exactly. It's like exactly like talking to
like
Messner. Look, okay, one more time, I'm going to tell you this, and then we're done. We're not
But you
talking
have
about
to
it
respect
anymore.
and how nicely he's saying this stuff.
Oh
right?
yeah, he's very
Gentleman
politely.
George. He's very politely saying, "Listen, if you write me again, I'm going to come burn your house
Right.
down."
Enough of this
basically.
BS.
Enough of this shit. I'm
Knock
done.
it off.
I'm giving it up.
Done.
But he writes, it was not my intention to doubt that the doctrines of the Illuminati and the principles of Jacobinism have not spread into the United States. On the contrary, no one is more fully satisfied of this fact than I am. So in other words, he's basically saying, I believe that they're here.
Right.
He's basically saying they've
I
no
believe
doubt.
they're here, but
Right. So this is where the Freemasonry comes into it. The idea I meant to convey was that I did not believe that the lodges of the Freemasons in this country had, as societies, endeavored to propagate the diabolical tenets of the first, or the pernicious principles of the latter, if they are susceptible of separation. That the individuals of them may have done it, and that the founder or instrument employed to found the democratic societies in the United States. Now, that's kind of crazy when I read that.
yeah,
We'll
lightly-
dabble
in that
we'll dabble a little bit. We'll may have had these objects, and actually a separation of the people from their government in view is too evident to be questioned. My occupations are such that but little leisure is allowed to me to read the news. Blah 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 blah. He's basically saying, I didn't read your book. I'm not going to read
too
it.
busy for your crap. Like, come on.
Yeah.
I won a war. I defeated the greatest power in the world at the time,
Right.
and then ran the country for 8 years.
And if he
Leave
spoke
me
with
the
an
frig alone.
if he had an English accent, it would say, "Go have intercourse with yourself."
And then I
Basically,
had
tell
a
the end of the
flu
letter.
after that.
Right, and then he
I'm
had
not
the flu. Right, Ken.
So basically, what he's saying,
Stop busting my
balls.
is what he's saying. Yes.
But George Washington is basically saying, I have no doubt that the guys who are trying to spread the Illuminati
I'm sure they're here.
are here. Yeah, I'm sure they're here. I'm
They're
sure
trying.
They're
but
trying. But he doesn't believe that the lodges of Freemasonry in this country have been infiltrated
Right.
by, now see, conspiracy theorists who believe that the Illuminati, the Freemasons, and, Alex Jones is freaking talking about, well,
Right.
he's not saying anything now besides going to start his car. But moving on.
Right. But what I'm taking away when Washington references the democratic societies, I think he's almost saying they're here, but because of the way that these societies are set up, specifically
They can't be
Freemasonry,
infiltrated.
they can't be infiltrated
Yeah.
because you have your master for 1 year and then things turn over. It's set up in a way where it can't be taken over or infiltrated, and that's what I think he's. I think I'm starting to get the feeling that he's starting to get a little annoyed with the accusations and this guy like hounding him.
Well, I going back, this is from Schneider to George Washington. Let me clarify a little bit. He had said that let's see here, that the same are now existing in the United States, and he's talking about the Illuminati or Jacobin clubs or groups or whatever. It also occurred to me that you might have had ideas to that purport when you disapproved of the meetings of the Democratic societies.
Oh, okay.
So he's actually talking about political. He's talking about political parties.
Sorry, I misunderstood that.
No. I didn't clarify.
Yeah.
He's talking about these. So basically, what he's saying is that
not
only did they infiltrate or try to infiltrate Freemasonry,
but politics as well.
Politics in general, because
your political parties.
And if you remember, George Washington wanted to abolish the political parties. He didn't want any political parties.
Right.
Washington and Hamilton, Jefferson and Hamilton had a different idea about that.
Yes.
But even to this day, you have Democrats and you have Republicans and
then you have people that use common sense. But anyway.
But what he's saying is that let's see here. So, and I'll continue reading. You disapproved of the meetings of the Democratic societies, which appeared to be a branch of that order, though many members may be entirely ignorant of the plan.
Interesting.
Those men who are so much attracted to French principles have all the marks of Jacobinism. So he's flat out saying, in a sense, that in Washington at this point is like, dude, I'm retired.
Right. And he's also
go away.
It's almost like Snyder saying to Washington, he's pulling a typical Alex Jones. Well, you don't understand because you're not high enough. They've already infiltrated you, and
I think
you don't know it
what
yet.
He's kind of doing in this point is he's actually talking about how they're not only and it's funny because first letter he wrote to Washington was that I'm going to do the Alex Jones voice. Ready?
Pull your collar tight around your neck so your head turns red and make your double chin.
Well, they infiltrated the Freemasons, and that's what they're doing. They're trying to take over society by infiltrating the Freemasons, right?
Oh,
and then Washington's like...
That sounds more like Macho Man Savage. But
okay, whatever. I'm doing my best here.
Okay. I like it either way.
So that's pretty much what he started off with, is that they're infiltrating the Freemasons. Washington writes back like, listen, cool your jets, Maverick. Cool your jets. They didn't infiltrate the Freemasons. And then the next thing is, well, they infiltrated the Democratic societies of the government. So that's pretty much, and then Washington finally ends with, dude, this is it. I'm good from here on.
Washington ends with a, okay, boomer.
So
stop being a Karen. Boomer.
But it is interesting that there was actually correspondence between George Washington and the founding fathers of this country talking about how the Illuminati was basically coming here. People were afraid of it. And this is interesting.
But, like, I can't say that fear is completely irrational. Because here you have a country that's in its infancy, still trying to find their way, still trying to figure things out. If you were an organization looking to infiltrate any organization, another organization or country or whatever, you're going to pick one that hasn't quite found its footing yet.
Right.
And go after it because it's a perceived weakness. I can understand why they would think, hey, you're a prime target for it. And I can even understand the Illuminati potentially saying, hey, here's an opportunity.
Right.
But let's be real.
So let me find it real quick. I was looking for what it was. I lost it now. Oh, George Washington's letter. Here we go. Boom, got it. So this was between Schneider, but there was other communications from founding fathers. And we'll get into our final synopsis of what we think at the end. Ken can throw his 2 cents in. You can. I will. And we'll kind of just spitball on what the Illuminati was about and what we believe that, if there was any infiltration or anything like that. We'll get into all that conspiracy stuff. But actually, Washington wasn't the only one talking about the Illuminati. I actually also have a letter here from Jefferson to a Bishop James Madison. If you notice that, like, a lot of the ones who were having a problem with the Illuminati were reverends and bishops, were religious figures.
Well, and that's just been the history of any free-thinking society, whether it be, at the time of, Sir Isaac Newton, or even you go back to as far as Galileo and
Right.
anybody who was a free thinker, or even
Well, Bruno got burned.
necessarily a man of, or even a man of science.
Right.
You had that initial Enlightenment period, which the Illuminati, the enlightened ones, which is hearkening back to, that's always been in conflict with the church, especially the Christian-based faiths. I mean, even to this day, Freemasonry, which is a free-thinking society, has its discord with the Catholic Church and other churches.
Mm-hmm.
It's a threat. It's a threat of power.
Right. So apparently this book was being thrown around to all of the top dogs, I guess you could say at the time, because this is a letter from Bishop James Madison to Thomas Jefferson. Oh, no, excuse me. It's from Thomas Jefferson to Bishop James Madison, where he's basically talking about, and I'm going to paraphrase because this is long-winded, and they're talking about all kinds of stuff, not just one thing. But he says, I have lately by accident got a sight of the single volume of the Abbé Baruel's?
We'll go with that.
Abbé
I'm
Baruel's
sure it's Latin or something.
Antisocial Conspiracy, which gives me the first idea I have ever had of what it's meant by Illuminatism, against which Illuminate Morse, as he's now called, and his ecclesiastical and monarchical. Thank you, Ken.
Thanks, Ken.
Associates have been making such a hue and cry. So he goes on to talk about this book and what he's reading and everything. And again, if you want to look this up, this is actually on Freemasonry, the Grand Lodge of British Columbia in the Yukon. They have a lot of
we
good
cite
stuff.
them a lot. That's
They got some-
really good articles.
Yes, they do.
Canada.
Yeah.
So, and this is what Jefferson basically said. And I'm kind of reading this for the first time myself. And I believe, he had his own opinion about it. The means, and this he's talking about Weishaupt right here. The means he professes to effect this improvement of human nature are to enlighten men, to correct their morals, and inspire them with benevolence. Secure of our success, says he, we abstain from violent commotions. And actually, that was one of the tenets of the Illuminati, was you don't harm anybody.
Well, that gets back to that. If everybody followed the moral
Right.
law, we wouldn't need government and
Right.
police or whatever the case may be.
So he says to have foreseen the happiness of posterity and to have prepared it by irreproachable means suffices for our felicity. The tranquil of our consciousness is not troubled by the reproaching of aiming and the ruin to overthrow the state of thrones. As Weishaupt lived under tyranny of the despot and priests, he knew that caution was necessary even in spreading information and the principles of pure morality. He proposed, therefore, to lead the Freemasons to adopt this object and to make the objects of their institution the diffusion of science and virtue. He proposed to initiate new members into his body by gradations proportioned to his fears of the thunderbolts of tyranny. So here's pretty much at this point basically saying, like, this guy's not that far out of line of what we want.
Right.
That's why the American Revolution was beginning, is to stay away from tyranny,
Tyrannical government.
tyrannical governments,
tyrannical monarchs.
church and state.
Exactly.
So in a sense, he's kind of defending him at this point. In a sense,
He's pretty much saying that the guy's ideas aren't as crazy as you think they might be.
That's pretty much
Like
what
there's some foundation there that, or some commonality that we can all agree on.
And then he basically then he ended the letter, and I guess he basically ended the letter talking about Napoleon Bonaparte, and he said, "I will say nothing to you on the late revolution in France, which is painfully interesting." And he goes on forth, but we kind of, I mean, realistically, the French Revolution it happened much after this whole the Illuminati thing came to power, but people are still really concerned that there's the Illuminati still here and everything. And Originally when I came and I wanted to do the whole, Mason's mouth off, it was pissed off. I'm just so tired of everybody saying we're evil and we're bad and we do this, that, and the other thing.
Tell them you're bad.
Altogether though, I mean, this order kind of died out a while ago, right? This died out right around 1800. Okay.
Yeah, it didn't last.
The order itself, at its height, had maybe 2,000 members.
Correct.
Yep.
Right. Primarily concentrated in Bavaria and in Germany, right? But it didn't really spread much far outside of the borders of those areas. There's no evidence that there were, over a couple thousand members altogether, or that they infiltrated any world governments or anything like that. So it kind of it always made me a little skeeved out that the conspiracy theorists are so convinced that the Illuminati make up the New World Order and they have so much power. I mean, why? Why single them out? Freemasonry, I kind of get, right? There's a lot of us, we're spread out, we're everywhere around the world, but the Illuminati, it just doesn't really make a lot of sense. And then also we've got, these scammers that are constantly harassing us and other Masonic websites. And obviously they're not descended from the Illuminati, but they picked that organization to masquerade as.
And
Why?
don't you think that if that organization still existed in some form or another, that somehow, some way, these scammers that are using the name of the Illuminati, it would go away. Trust me, it would go away.
I don't think so.
If you had scammers going around, I do. And let me get my thought out, and then we can debate this.
Fire.
Because if somebody were going around scamming people in the name of Freemasonry, I guarantee you that would not last very long.
Yes.
I guarantee you it would get shut down fast, whether it be visible or behind the scenes. It would go away. So if this all-powerful organization that controls the government and controls the world and controls the banking system and all these things that the conspiracy theorists allege, if some common thief is using the name of that organization and they had that much power, they wouldn't exist.
So I'm going to actually side with the conspiracy theorists on this.
Go.
And again,
That's what they want you to think. You're not going to don't be that lazy, please.
Sun
This is
Tzu.
a red letter day here.
Sun Tzu. Deception is the art of all warfare. If the Illuminati really existed, I would let those African scammers do it all day long. You know why? Because we're hidden. We want to stay hidden. Where's Freemasonry right now? We're out in the open. Hey, we're Freemasons. We got our shit on the walls and everything. And realistically, we don't want people to get scammed out of their money. We're protecting other people. But if we were an Illuminati order that wants to stay hidden, that wants to stay in the shadows, go ahead, scam. Because now people are going to look at it and be like, the Illuminati's bullshit. Look at these guys. They're just trying to steal money. Think about it.
I think about it, but I still think you're wrong.
Okay. But it's a perfect cover is what I'm saying.
It would be
think of all the rappers who do the Junior Mafia and all that stuff. It's a cover for what's really going on in the card game down in the basement. They're the Mafia's dead. They're not around no more. Come on.
No, they're still around. They're still very around. But I also know that if somebody were out scamming old ladies out of their money and people out of their money in the name of the Mafia would not allow that to happen. They would not allow that to happen.
But if you had an Illuminati that's worried more about taking over governments and making a one world order, the last thing they give a shit about is that old lady getting scammed out of $200 because we got bigger fish to fry.
Perhaps.
So, but I'll play devil's advocate on that.
If they're truly all powerful, they do the little Thanos and make it go away. And it would go away.
All right.
I'm just saying. I understand what you're saying, that it's a choice. That's like me in high school. Dude, you don't have a girlfriend. By choice. That's my choice.
It was... No, I'll be nice to you.
No, it wasn't my choice, but I portrayed it to be.
I took ownership of it, yeah.
But again, and I'm going to cite Sun Tzu again. Choose your battles. You can't win the war if you fight every battle. Sometimes you got to retreat. And I'm sorry, but
you should follow that advice.
I do.
No, you fight every fucking battle.
No, we talk about it amongst.
I let the F-bomb go. I'm sorry, but come on.
No, we talk about the battles amongst all of us, and you say, "Calm down, little guy," and I said, "Okay." So that's really
you
how
want to fight everybody.
I want to fight him, but you talk
Absolutely.
some sense to me. And a good commander always listens to the advice of his generals.
Oh, so now you're my freaking commander? That's where we're going? That's how this is going? See? It's my show! I told you!
I gave him the ammo. I threw him a softball. So.
Oh, we're all equals, but I'm your commander!
Anyway.
You know I'm busting.
I know.
But yeah, I get what you're saying.
You get what I'm saying? Like, you would want to stay in the shadows where you wouldn't care. Like, again, mafia and the street gangs with the gangbangers, and the Crips and the Bloods. They didn't care about any of that because you know what? Let them take the focus. Let them take the attention because the attention they're getting is pulling it off of us. Is I guess the way I'm kind of looking at it.
Right.
But I
it's like a game of 3-card Monty.
Kind of.
Yeah. Kind of like that. Not the full Monty, the 3-card Monty.
Yeah, I knew you were going there.
Yeah, you did. Ken saw that coming.
Oh, yeah, a mile away, brother.
Woo! That's not all you can see from a mile away. Woo!
So anyway, let's get back into this. So I don't think Vice hopped. I don't think that he was. I think he was trying to topple governments and not topple governments, but he put that doctrine out there of separation of church and state and the people being able to control themselves by moral law. And I don't think, personally, and this is my opinion, and I do not speak for Freemasonry. We do not speak for any grand jurisdiction or Freemasonry as a whole. Let me be absolutely clear about that. The opinions expressed are only of us on the podcast and your podcast boys.
Right. Do not necessarily reflect our Grand Lodge jurisdiction or any Grand Lodge jurisdiction around the world. Just purely the thoughts of what's going through our head at this time, which could be totally incorrect.
My personal belief is that he was, again, Europe in those times was, for a perfect example, there was an Revolution being fought at that point. You know what I mean? Like, the American colonies were breaking away from Britain because of the tyranny and the monarchies and the despotism and all that stuff.
Yep.
So this guy Weishaupt grew up in this area. Like, he lived in this area, and he wanted to join Freemasonry. He was looking for enlightenment. He was again, he wasn't a bad guy. He was raised by Jesuits. He went to the Jesuit school.
Right.
So it's not like he was a bad guy. He just said, hey, maybe we're doing this wrong. Maybe we're doing this different.
Right.
And, you go to church and you read the Bible and, we got the whole world in his hands. Like, y'all need Jesus. Y'all need Jesus. But we talk about this in the Bible where, it's written in the Bible. Live virtuously. You have the 10 Commandments. Right. So if everybody on the planet followed the 10 Commandments, what do you need a government for?
Right. It's called the Sacred Book of Law.
Right. That's where his mind frame was.
And I get it. And maybe that Jesuit education is what put him in that mind frame. Yeah, I'm getting lit up for dropping the F-bomb on Facebook.
How dare you?
That's all right. But that's where I think Weishaupt's brain was at, where he's like, why do we need governments? Why do we need religion if everybody follows the good book?
There?
If it's right there, what do we need it for? And I think those papers that were found from his charred best friend who got cooked by a lightning bolt, which is
allegedly
irony in its finest. But but think about it, like this guy, who put out these papers,
right?
It would be, and I want to be clear about this. Don't take this the wrong way. Love the state of Connecticut. Love Grand Lodge. Love our Grand Master. But it would be the equivalent of me and Joe up here on this podcast writing out about how much we don't need the Grand Lodge. We should get rid of it. And then a Grand Lodge officer intercepting it.
Right.
It would taint my name. It would taint what I'm doing. It would ruin what, what I believe. And if I was having a bunch of people that I'm trying to join in my belief system of that each lodge should govern itself. We don't need the Grand Lodge.
Right.
It's going to piss off those in power.
Absolutely.
And now take it to, Victorian Europe.
Well,
God forbid you want to up in the church or a government at that point.
Right. And that's what it comes down to. It's a power play. But if you think about it,
Brother Bill Powell, people can't even wash their hands. George and Weishaupt want no government. I'm not saying I don't want a government.
No.
That's not what I'm
But
saying.
what Weishaupt was saying in essence, is it really all that different than the Bible being your rule and guide?
No, not at all.
And like that's brothers are going to understand exactly what I'm getting at right now with it. And when we talk about the three great lights and what they represent, again, you're talking about light. Right. You're talking about illuminating, Illuminati. Right. So they're just like anything. You could always start off with an idea or a principle, and then when other people get their hands involved, it ends up. I run through this at work all the time. They're like, "Figure this out." And I'm like, "Here you go." By the time it goes through corporate and legal and all that,
it's been
and get something back to me that doesn't resemble what I intended it to be. Right. It's not even close. So if you start on the simple premise of we don't need governments, the Bible and the Ten Commandments or the sacred book of law should be the only law and ruling guide to your conduct, I can buy into that.
Right.
I can
absolutely.
do. However, the reality is, you have people that we were asking them to follow the Bible and kind of conduct themselves according to that and govern themselves,
right?
Where you can't even trust them to not buy up all the toilet paper,
right,
and the hand sanitizer,
right,
and things like so.
Well, again, if they were following that moral law, they would understand that maybe I shouldn't buy 15 packs of toilet paper because a 70 or 80-year-old woman might need toilet paper. So again, that still falls under the moral law. People are shitbags, though, and don't do that.
And that's my point is it too high of an expectation for everybody? Are you setting yourself up for failure by setting the bar too high? Because a lot of people can't do that.
I also wonder, too, going back into the Illuminati thing. So they had this Illuminati thing. They were talking about toppling governments, and clearly Weishaupt had kind of a swollen head thing going on. He had a little king of the degrees.
He had a little David Koresh going on.
He had a little bit going on.
Yeah.
So at some point, let's say Weishaupt's idea works. Let's say all the governments are gone. Boom, Weishaupt takes over the world. Now how are you going to govern it? You just not?
Well, not only how are you going to govern it.
That actually happened at one point. It was called the Dark Ages.
But you can go at it from a standpoint of, okay, here's your sacred book of law. Follow this.
And what happens if you don't?
You got to enforce it. Exactly.
How do you enforce it?
You can't.
We're back here. We touched.
How do you enforce it? You can't.
Sanitizer!
Ken, high five, Ken.
Hold on. Pouring the beer in my hand.
But no, that you've got to be able to enforce it. So then, who enforces it? Oh, so now you got to set up a group of people to enforce the law.
Right. So you're right back.
Now you're right back.
Yeah, you've got a government.
Yeah.
Now you've got a
right
government.
back at square one.
And then people are going to disagree with your interpretation of enforcing it, and it's like this big cyclical.
And now
thing.
you have one guy at the top, Weishaupt. And what happens when one guy is usually at the top of governments?
Ken, I'll let you take this one because you and I have experience with this on this podcast.
What happens when there's one guy?
There's one guy who thinks he's in charge and puts himself up as like, say, the commander of a podcast.
Usually there's a revolution. The people
come on,
topple that individual.
See, now
am I gonna have to come over and give you a hug?
You're gonna make me feel bad now because I don't try to do that. I'm
kidding.
I know.
I won't overthrow you, George. I love you.
No, but
I'm kidding. I'm legitimately kidding with you. I'm only serious. What are you trying to kick me under the
hill? No, I'm looking for crossed freaking fingers or anything like that. No, but in all honesty, like if we want to compare it to the podcast or whatever, I kind of
anytime you have one guy who's in charge and is put in a position of supreme being with no checks and balances, you're gonna get, and it gets back to absolute power corrupts absolutely.
And let me compare me to Weishaupt. Okay,
but he was like 5'10".
He wasn't 5'10", was he?
I don't know.
Can't
I just made that up.
Yep.
But no, let's compare me to Weishaupt, and we'll talk about the podcast in comparison.
Okay,
to the
but you
Illuminati.
understand I was kidding.
I know you're kidding.
Okay.
No, but I want to make a comparison on a modern platform that we're all talking about. Weishaupt got into a big beef with his freaking friend Midge because he was trying to run the show. But if you notice, he didn't have any of the degrees set up of the higher other than just the entry because it became too much for him to handle.
Right. And Midge pulled back the curtain and said, whoa, whoa, whoa. This whole thing that you're touting and explaining and going, it doesn't exist. You don't have your own. I can't be a part of this. What you're selling me doesn't exist. You're a snake oil salesman.
Right.
That's what he was at the time.
Right.
And like you even referred to it as a pyramid type setup. It's a pyramid scheme.
He was at the top.
Right.
And he didn't want to hear anything else that Nidge had to say, even though Nidge was like, I'll set up your degrees. I'll do this. I'll do that. And then
he was like, no, I got this.
I got this.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
But he doesn't.
No, you don't.
Right.
So that disbursement of power is actually a good thing. And
absolutely.
you can't really have one guy at the top. Again,
no
comparison to me in the podcast. How many times I was like, Joe, take this pitch, or you do this, or you do that, or because I can't. Like Rafferty does a lot of stuff.
Well, plus, like we have you. If
he's got a half smirk on his face. So
because if you ever tried to be our dictator, we've got Raph as our enforcer. Like the guy's a good foot and a half taller than you.
Didn't stop Napoleon.
Eventually, it did. Raph's new nickname is Waterloo.
They put his ass on an island and he came back.
Raph's new nickname is Waterloo because you're Napoleon and he's your Waterloo if you get out of line. Jim Waterloo Rafferty is going to be your downfall.
So I do think
height is not known for Adam Weishaupt. Sorry.
There you go. Short guys running the world again. God damn,
the hell was that?
That's Ken. I don't know what he's doing.
What? That's not me. Nothing's making noise over
That was weird. It wasn't mine.
That's got to be on your computer since it's coming through the audio.
No, it really wasn't.
Certainly not mine.
Oh well. Moving on. But
anyway,
I believe that the Illuminati's doctrine did come here to the United States, and I do believe that many of the different symbols of the Illuminati made their way into Freemasonry.
Oh, the all-seeing eye was adopted by the Illuminati.
The pyramid.
Granted, the all-seeing eye or the eye of providence was adopted by many ancient orders and societies and whatnot.
If I may go back in time, and I could just imagine me
back in time.
Let's do.
Didn't we have to talk about back to
the?
Oh, here we go.
Anyway, let's go back in time, and I can imagine myself being a Freemason when one of these Illuminati guys come into to the lodge and like, hey, listen. Does he
do it in the German accent? Because they were from Bavaria.
I can't do the German accent.
Hey, listen to me.
You do.
You will listen to me. I see nothing.
But let's say they do come into a Masonic lodge and like, hey, listen, we're Illuminati. You need to join us. We're about overthrowing governments. Didn't we just do that? Like,
right.
We kind of just did that.
Hold my beer.
We're good.
Hold my beer. We're good. Watch, we'll do it again in 1812.
No, but you know what I mean? Like, so I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like, so really it wouldn't take root in the United States because we just did overthrow a government.
Right. It's
not theoretical again.
And it's not theoretical to us.
Right.
Hey, we got ideas on how to do it. Just did that. Thank you.
Right.
Rick.
So, but
on your way.
But hey, what's that pyramid about? Oh yeah, we'll take that.
Right.
You know, I can see that happening. A melding of ideas or thoughts would definitely take place. But actually,
and you have that in any cultures that start to cross-pollinate. You're going to get some of that.
But the tenets of the Illuminati would start to cross-pollinate with Freemasonry, but their extreme end of it.
Right.
And we talk about the moral law in Masonic Lodge.
Right.
And it's part of, I think, a charge or something
and
like that.
And you could even say, and I know I'm going to get killed for this.
Probably.
But I'm just going to say there are some out there that hold this belief, not me.
Uh-huh.
But when you talk about Freemasonry and an extreme group coming in, there are those out there, not me, that believe that the Rosicrucians are an extreme branch of Freemasonry.
Right.
That take it to a different level. It's a similar beliefs and similar, but it's almost like taking an orthodox approach to certain things, and some people might just be too much for them. Whatever group you have, there's going to be like and again, not trying to make it sound like religion, but an orthodox interpretation of anything. It's like, no, you could just take our Constitution. There's some that feel it's a living, breathing document that evolves with the time, and there are others that say, no, this is what it says. This is what it meant. Done.
Right.
So you're always going to have those extremes within any organization, and ultimately what happens is when they feel like they're not accepted by a particular organization, they branch off and form their own thing. They do their own thing.
Correct. You know, another thing to add is that many of the Rosicrucian symbols became part of the Scottish Rite.
Right.
And it's actually the 17th and 18th degrees.
Because even though
the Rose Croix
ideas may differ, symbols are universal.
And this is where I want to make the distinction about Freemasonry and a religion. We are not a frickin' religion.
No, absolutely not.
We are lessons learned, and we pull lessons from the Illuminati. The guy, the dead body with the crown and the sword laying on the table. Oh, what is this? Was he a prince or was he a pleb? It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. He's dead. It doesn't matter what you were.
It really doesn't, because it shows that in death we're all equal.
Exactly.
That's something
the point. That's the lesson.
That's the chamber of reflection.
Exactly.
That's the memento mori, or that's
right.
What Freemasonry talks about as well.
Exactly.
The Rose Croix. That's part of the Scottish Rite, and that has to deal with the
that's the 18th, right?
17th and 18th. That's they're in tandem, kind of. But that's two degrees that talk about Jesus Christ and the teachings of Him.
Right.
Then
but it's not about the religion, and it's not
the religion.
It's the lessons.
There you go. That's the one thing that I listen to a lot of people that I listen to the church ones, because I love doing this. You're going into YouTube and you watch the church things and how they talk about Freemasonry is not compatible with churches and stuff, and I'm like, wrong. Like,
right, and that's
because we're not a religion. We're not. That's not what we're doing. It's the teachings. It's the
right. But the problem, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
We won't go down that rabbit hole. But I will go back to the Illuminati and talking about the democratic societies.
Yeah.
That was interesting when I read that.
See, now when reading that and in that context and just putting it to modern times, I think you could infiltrate a political party.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And
to
the
a certain
question
extent,
is,
back in the 80s and early 90s, it was referred to as the religious right. They infiltrated, for lack of a better term, the Republican Party. That's when...
Well, that's why you have the prayer breakfasts.
Right.
Tell me you've seen that show on
political
Netflix.
party,
Tell me you've
especially...
seen it on Netflix.
Absolutely, I have.
Yes! That was awesome.
Absolutely, I have. And now, with power and money and resources, you can easily infiltrate those things, especially when you have congressmen that don't have term limits. Those are very easy to manipulate.
Brother Bill Powell.
Look at our lobbyists.
Yeah.
They're manipulating our democratic societies.
Bill Powell, I'm reading the book now about the alchemy and includes the Rosicrucians and Freemasons called The Golden Builders. Very good book,
I saw. Oh, you've read it?
I've not. No, I'm reading what he wrote.
No, that just piqued my interest.
Well,
I'm definitely going to check that book out.
Let's just think about, and again, I don't want to get too political, but let's think about the Democratic Party and the Illuminati thing. Illuminati did not believe in governments. They did not believe in borders. They did not believe that you should live by the moral law. I mean, it's similar to your Democratic Party now.
Although the Democratic Party is more of a...
I'm just making a comparison that there could be a infiltration of a government. And it would be very simple.
It would be easy.
Everything that Weishaupt was saying is morally correct.
Right. And if you want to put it on a political level,
right,
and talk about the certain safeguards and checks and balances put in place to make sure that doesn't happen, read Jefferson.
Yeah.
Read what he was saying and how limited he thought the power of the national government should be.
And Jefferson hated Hamilton.
Yes. Yeah.
Jefferson, I do not believe, was ever a Freemason. Hamilton was, I believe, right?
Not 100%. I know Freemasons really try hard to claim.
Oh, man. I don't know.
Freemasons try hard to claim two presidents.
I think Hamilton was.
I think he was too.
I think he might have been. And I'm pretty sure Burr was who killed Hamilton. So
Yep.
Which is really weird when you think about two brothers going.
Well, not necessarily, because dueling was considered a gentleman's
right, but
way
think
to
about that part of your third degree about contentions.
Here's my thing, though. Dueling wouldn't work in modern day, because if I ever had a contention with Rafferty and we decided to duel, I'd have to shoot that dude 6 times before he went down.
Well, here's something. I'm going to go back to a friend of mine, and hopefully he's listening. He might not be.
What lead ball bounces off another man's body? He would look at me like, that's all you got?
But I forget the term. A friend of mine that I've worked with for 25 years, good friend of mine named Matt.
Federalist Papers, Jim Delaney, yeah.
Absolutely. Grew up in Maine. And they had their form of dueling. And it was called like 10 yards. Is something like that they called it. And you'd line up 10 yards away from each other, and you'd run at each other as fast and as hard as you freaking could. And you would literally try to destroy the other person. And that was the end of the argument. Whoever came out on top won the argument or the beef or whatever it was, and the other one acquiesced and said, okay, you're right. But that's how they settled disputes. I'd love to see that with you and Raph. Love to see that.
No, it wouldn't happen.
You could go low on them. I could give you strategies. What? You could go flying cross body block a la flying burrito from Tito Santana.
It would be like when Rey Mysterio like jumped at Kevin Nash and he just caught him midair. Remember that when he used to catch him midair and then just sidewalk slam him?
It could end that way, but
anyway.
But I'm sorry, who somebody made a comment about
Jim Delaney, the Federalist Papers. Yeah,
yes,
check those out, and you can look at all those, and they're actually still in pristine order. They're on the loc.gov.
It's an amazing read. When you really go back and look at how our founding fathers wanted to put this country together, it's so different than the way it works right now. And they had it figured out. It's amazing where a lot of things they had figured out. They had checks and balances figured out. They had certain things in place that if we followed them, they pretty much had fail-safes for corruption to make sure it didn't happen.
Well,
or at least limited.
I also want to just add right here that our government and what's going on here in the country is not anything different than what's happened from time immemorial. You know, you had Jefferson who hated Hamilton. You had Hamilton who hated Burr. You had Andrew Jackson, which was like the scourge of that. Nobody liked Andrew Jackson. They hated him more than Trump.
Andrew Jackson did some messed up stuff.
He did some messed up shit. Really messed up stuff. You know, you had Lincoln who was hated, who took a freaking round in the back of the head. Like, you had, like, this has always happened throughout. So when people sit here and they say to me, like, oh, boogaloo, oh, hell's going to break loose, this is going to be anarchy. No, it's not, assholes. Look, read a history book. Get out of your phone and read a history book, and you'll see that this is nothing new. And it's nothing bad. You have to make an omelet. You have to break some eggs to make an omelet. Right. Realistically, like, it's okay. We're going to be all right. Like,
yeah, but the pendulum does swing.
We've never been more divided as a nation. Oh, yeah? I'm pretty sure we fought a whole friggin' war over it.
Yeah, or just go back to the 60s with the civil rights movement. Like, there's been plenty of times where this country's been divided. I don't know that there's been much at stake. As the country has gotten older, things have gotten more complex. And
Ken, why are you sending me pictures?
No, I think I clicked the snapshot button instead of unmuting my mic.
Oh.
I was going to tell you that Aaron Burr was not, in fact, a Mason, and I got overzealous with the mouse and clicked the run button.
Brother Jim Powell, we need a wrestling meme with George and the mountain of the Game of Thrones.
That's Raph. Raph is the
We
mountain.
actually have an idea about that me and Joe were talking about.
Yes.
So
we've got a few ideas.
So do we want to drop it, Joe?
No, let's...
We've tag teamed on this one, so come on. Maybe we should drop it. Come on.
Go ahead.
Rafferty's watching.
Yeah.
So me and Joe came up with an idea that if we get to when
Oh, yeah.
we get
to 2,000. 1,500 or 2,000? 1,500.
Rafferty needs to dress up like the Juggernaut.
Juggernaut from Marvel Comics.
That's a tough one. One thing, but Juggernaut, man.
Juggernaut. We're going to make a helmet out of a salad bowl and just cut some ice out of it.
Okay.
And then he's got to wear some kind of unitard thing, brown unitard. And it's going to run up and down Main Street in Seymour.
Could probably make it work.
Oh, we'll make it work.
Rafferty's up.
Rafferty's up.
I did my part.
Ken, you're up at 2,000. Wait till you hear that idea.
That's cool, man. You guys figure out what you want me to dress up as, and I'm in.
Oh, we got it.
We had a couple
It
ideas.
involves shaving your head.
No, well, one. My idea was a mime.
A mime.
Yeah, because you're so white, like a mime.
Okay.
George had some other ideas.
Powder.
As long as I get to wear like one of those little beanie hats. Or not beanie hats.
Or better yet, no.
Like
Have
a
you
little
ever seen-
bowler with the
you ever
black and white striped thing.
Oh,
and
God.
suspenders.
You ever seen the movie Prometheus?
Like French hat.
Have you seen the movie Prometheus?
I don't think so.
Really? Alien Covenant. The engineers?
No. I stopped after Aliens 3.
No worries.
But I know what you're talking about. I just haven't seen them.
Paint
for
him
me,
gold
it's-
and call him C-3PO.
That would be funny. He's got to talk with a British accent.
Brother Danny Collins. So
But Prometheus was in essence a prequel to Aliens, right?
correct, yes.
Yeah.
Very good
yeah,
movie, by the
yeah.
way. Very good movie.
But anyway, we don't have to
Anyway.
worry about 2,000 just yet because Raf's up for 1,500.
Raph's up for 1,500. Dress him as Juggernaut. And I'm even going to play the music from Deadpool.
Nice.
Holy shit balls. Holy. All right. What do you say? We good?
I think we're good.
I think we're good.
Yeah.
Thank you all for tuning in and listening in. We're going to continue to do more and more stuff. I think next episode,
So we have Sunday.
Sunday.
We have Sunday.
Sunday.
Raph, shoot me the name of the author that we have coming in. But it's an author coming in
Stand by.
that wrote a book called Long Island Freemasons, I believe. And it gets into a lot of I believe it goes back to the Revolutionary War period and the history of Freemasonry out on Long Island. The brother actually wrote a book on it recently. It's part of that series. If any of you have gone to like your local drugstores or CVS's or stuff, there's always that series of books with the history of that particular town that you're in. It's part of that series. It usually has like a brown sepia type cover to it, something like that. So that book is coming out soon. I believe his first name is Ron. I can't remember his last name.
I'm trying to get to that. I'm trying to get to our message.
God damn it, Rafferty. I can't check my phone because I'm using the phone to monitor the comments. Put it in the comments, man. Christ's sake. Raph, always texting while we're live. Why don't you just call me on my phone, Raph? Why don't you just call? Let it ring during
There
the
we go.
podcast.
Ron Seafried.
Ron Seafried.
Ron Seafried. He's going to be coming up. He's author of the book Long Island Freemasons.
Yeah, and the book releases Monday.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to be talking to him about his book and about everything, his Masonic career, all kinds of stuff like that. Where to find the book, where to get the book, and
some history.
some
The
history.
Freemasons on Long Island were a very big part of the Culper Ring.
yes,
The
very
Spies,
much.
Washington Spy Ring. That again, we go back to that series Turn. That's likely on Netflix. Gets into that quite a bit. So good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So good times, and yeah, hopefully we originally planned this weekend we were going to do some kind of WrestleMania thing with Champ the Clown
Not anymore.
down at the Shriners, but we can't gather.
Womp,
And, so maybe perhaps we'll put something together for SummerSlam or something like that. But
Next Thursday, I'd also like to do an open mic. So for those listening, watching, yeah, trying to. For those listening or watching, what we're gonna do is it's gonna be open mic. You could ask us any questions. You could ask us about our personal, our personal lives. I mean, pending. We're not gonna get too detailed. I'm not gonna give you my bank account or anything. But you could ask us about our Masonic careers because again, we've kind of slightly dabbled on it. But
I had a thought
Uh-oh.
regarding that, and let me know your.
Thought I smelled
This is
smoke.
something if you're one of our Patreon listeners for as little as $3 a month, you get access to Discord, exclusive FMP chat, and a gold tone Freemasons podcast pin that should be available in a couple weeks. I'm going to put this out to the listeners. I'm thinking of getting like a burner phone.
Okay.
If you go to Walmart and just buy one of those pay per month kind of burner phones, and we could bring it because I'm not giving out my personal number.
Okay.
And we can actually have somebody call in we can give out the number for the show, people can call in and we can hold it right up to the mic and they can ask their question live.
I can do
you
that.
could probably plug it right into the soundboard. It's actually not a bad idea.
I could actually take the phone and I can do that right through Discord.
Okay. I say we do it. I'll buy the burner. It's like $30, $40.
I'm going to see if he's
I think
get a prepaid card or something. With
it. And we can just re-up it every month or so, or however it may be. But just the way that we can have the listeners call in live.
Speak of Discord,
hotline, FMP hotline.
Poor Ken's not going to want to look at Discord.
Oh boy, it's got to be better than
that. People are calling in or something. We just throw it in the lake because it's a burner phone, right?
Right. You just shut it off.
Yeah.
We'll only turn it on. It won't have voicemail set up. We just won't set it up, and we'll only turn it on during the podcast, and people can call in and ask their questions.
Fine by me.
Cool.
All right. What do you say, brothers?
Let's wrap it up.
All right. So, for the Freemasons,
I gotta pee.
For the Freemasons podcast, I am Right Worshipful Brother George Mudry signing off.
Worshipful Brother Joe signing off.
Worshipful Brother Ken signing off.
Have a good night, everyone.
All right, I gotta go over and see what's going on. How Ken's getting ripped up.
Ken's getting his ass tore.
I was trying not to look at my phone. Now I have to look at my phone.
Does it become the cinnamon line after hours?
Cinnamon clandestiny. Hey, you know what? If it gets me if I can charge you $1.95 a minute, you can do whatever you want.
Oh my God, are people taking like screenshots of me and putting like tablet quotes?
Yes, they are. I told you I went into Discord for 5 seconds. Have a good night.
Just real quick, Sunday show we're going to record at 3 o'clock. We're going to go a little earlier than normal.
I can write that.
Just everybody be aware.
All right. Have a good night.
Good night, everybody.
Love and feeling.